What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Rurouni Kenshin. This is episodes 3 and 4. And with me, as always, have Luzbid.
Yeah. Um, so these two episodes actually, I guess you could say it introduces of Yahiko, even though we did see him in the prior episode.
Hmm.
Episode three develops Yahiko even further about like of his past Um, I guess you could say like his overall like persona and like in trying to live up to his family name.
Yeah, because as we know, he sort of goes around bragging about being related to a samurai.
Yeah, so so the episode picks up after the last episode where I guess these loan sharks who Yahiko was working for to steal money for them end up you know beating him up for failing to to deliver on that promise. So they eventually take him to their I guess they take him to their hideout, in which Kenshin eventually reaches that area to not only like take down like uh these thugs, but also intimidate their leader due to his notoriety as being the Batosai.
Yeah. Um, and I think I don't know if it was it the same gang that they eventually like go to uh, the dojo to sort of try to
No,
destroy.
I think it was a completely different gang
Okay.
under different circumstance. But as soon as Kenshin helps free Yahiko from those thugs, he eventually takes him to the dojo. I guess in a way to become uh, Kaoru's next student.
Oh yeah.
Of course, Yahiko is a bit reluctant in wanting to to take lessons from Kaoru. Pretty much like he has a more rebellious attitude towards her by calling her names. I guess calling her like
Yeah, we
I
get a
don't know
lot
if
of
it was.
banter between Kaoru and Yahiko, which is sort of a. I think I do remember that happened quite a bit in the original series too, where they would just sort of argue back and forth.
Yeah. And so eventually, like later in the episode, uh, two of Kaoru's here looking for help due to
You're
fight.
breaking up.
Okay, so two of Kaoru's students eventually run for Kaoru for help due to being involved in a fight with I think several bandits. I don't know where, but eventually, like these bandits uh, go to Kaoru's dojo to I guess get retribution against those students. And Yaiko, of course, realizes that uh, her old students were he can smell alcohol from them, so he basically believes that there was basically due like I don't know a drunken incident with the two groups.
Yeah,
Um,
she was kind of saying that they might have been the ones that instigated it.
yeah, so Kaoru, of course, confronts the bandits, and I guess she wants to take responsibility for her students' actions. But of course, Yahiko decides, instead of like bending the knee towards these guys, instead like just we should just fight them off. So like so the bandits actually like like cause damage to the dojo by firing these like I think these wooden cannons at the school until
Mhm.
eventually Kenshin uh, returns to the dojo and then scares off the bandits by basically just like slashing one of the cannonballs with his katana.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, he scares them off, and I forget exactly. I think that's when like yeah, I guess Yahiko sort of starts to maybe like respect Henshin more or something, and he wants to, I think, like learn from him.
Yeah, eventually this influences him to become a more proper student to Kaoru
Yeah.
and learn the ways of the sword. So he eventually yeah, so that's pretty much where the episode ends in that one. And soon after that, well, the next episode focuses on Sonosuke Sagara, who's of course another companion towards Kenshin. But this episode, of course, introduces him properly. So Kenshin, Kaoru, and Yahiko go to a restaurant where, well, of course, Kenshin gets hit by like a sake bottle in the back of his head, caused by a trio of drunk men, which of course, like these men are like complaining about like with the new like laws being implemented due to the start of the Meiji era. However, instead of Kenshin confronting these guys, it's instead Sagura who confronts these guys and easily. I wouldn't say he easily beats them, but he scares them off by intentionally taking several blows from these guys.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, and then he like, I I think that don't they go outside to fight or something or
Yeah,
he
they do
yeah.
go outside to fight, and and Sagara ends up taking a blow from one of these guys by, I think he was about to stab him from like some kind of giant spike.
Oh
But
yeah.
instead of like, instead of hitting, well, actually it does technically hit Sagara, but he somehow manages to reverse the blow where the spike ends up going back into this guy's hand.
Yeah. Yeah. He ends up like uh hit it, yeah, his hand starts to bleed and that's kind of like I think that ends up like scaring them off. Um
Yeah.
and of course
Oh,
we
actually,
what
Kenshin also scares them off,
yeah.
when these guys are about to escalate the uh, entire situation. But of course, yeah, eventually, like those three guys run off, and then uh, Sagara, of course, explains that he's a fighter for hire, and he's interested in uh, getting into a one-on-one fight with Kenshin. But of course, Kenshin politely refuses. Yeah. So Sagara, soon after that, he goes back to the people who've hired him, who's of course, um I think one of them is the guy who's the fake Batosai, and his older brother who wanted to take it revenge against not only Kenshin but also Kaoru as well, because he's still obsessed in wanting to take over the dojo for himself.
Yeah, this of course was the old man from the beginning of the series that wanted to that pretty much betrayed Kaoru and was trying to take her land or take her dojo.
Yeah. So the following day afterwards, Sagar, of course, goes to the dojo to once again call out Kenshin into another one-on-one fight. But of course, he's followed by these two brothers, and uh, because the reason why they followed him is like they want to take advantage of the whole situation. Supposedly once Sagara, both him and Kenshin wore each other out from their fight, that they'll take
Mm.
advantage, and like I guess the older guy wants to shoot Kenshin after the fight, but eventually, like uh, Sagara and Kenshin get wind of where they are, so they pretty much catch them in the act. But instead of like turning them in, um, Sagara and Kenshin eventually both agree to fight by the riverside, with Sagara using his what was it, his giant sword like weapon called the Zanbato, and and of
Yeah,
course
because
soon
of
after
course it's
that
been concealed up until this point, so we didn't really know what kind of weapon it was.
yeah. So soon after they fight, Kenshin easily just not only dodges his attack, but he also just deals like almost like almost a knockout blow to Sagara. But Sagara, of course, with his I don't know how to say, like, this overwhelming durability that he has, like, just takes that blow from Kenshin, and that's and eventually they continue their fight from there, but that's where the episode just ends off in a cliffhanger soon after that.
Yeah, I do remember this from the original series too. I feel like there was like most of the episode was dedicated to them fighting by the river. Um, but I
Yeah.
guess they kind of wanted to end this off on a cliffhanger of sorts. And um,
Yeah. I mean, like I said with the some of the previous episodes, I'm not surprised that that the show is still continuing on this in the same manner as the original series did. It's
Yeah.
start I'm
I
I'm
was a little
starting to
bit
question like if
concerned at
it's
first with how it started because it felt like it was a little bit fast paced, but it definitely feels like the pacing has slowed down fairly significantly since the beginning.
yeah. I'm starting to, I mean, I mean, it's not the show's not bad, but it's like I'm still, questioning. It's like if it was really even necessary to even remake the show in the first place, unless if
I
there's something near the end that might change things up a bit.
I would say it's mostly because of the way the original anime played out. Because if we remember, I think the manga wasn't really finished, and the original anime sort of went in this anime original direction, um,
Mhm.
as opposed to what happens with the manga. And I mean, of course, the manga is finished now, so I feel like it's probably just that they want to maybe that they want to faithfully adapt the source material, and as
Yeah,
because I feel like, of course, it's in the beginning it's probably going to be mostly the same as the original series, and then at a certain point it's going to go into what happens in the manga as opposed to the original anime, which I guess sort of went its own way.
yeah. I guess it makes sense because to me, like this show, this version of the show is mainly for people who haven't watched the original series.
Yeah, and of course there probably is quite a few people that never really, didn't really grow up with Rurouni Kenshin and aren't really familiar with it. Um, and I mean, I guess you could say it's probably for the people who also seen the original series, and um, because maybe it's trying to be more faithful to the source material, and they're going to be exposed to things they didn't see in the original anime, if they didn't read the manga, of course.
Yeah, I mean, for people who've already watched the original, I guess it'll take some time before they get to that point where
Yeah.
it starts getting into like into brand new territory of sorts. But in terms of like where the show is being aimed towards, I think most of it would have to be geared toward people who haven't watched the series.
Yeah, probably. Um, but I mean, so far, I think it's been fine. I mean, of course I didn't really I haven't seen the entirety of the original series, but I am mostly just basing it off of the movies. Um, and some of the original series that some the part of the original series that I have seen. Um, but so far, I think it's been pretty decent. I just kind of hope it's not trying to do everything in like a one season or anything like that. I hope they're maybe planning to do it over multiple seasons if they're planning to adapt the entire story.
Yeah, because there's like a one thing in particular that I wanted to point out is there was this OVA that they released years ago that was supposedly like going to end the Kenshin series, but many people at the time were not happy, with that OVA based on
Yeah,
how
I
it
think I know what
ended.
you're talking
So
about. Was it like Reflections or something like that?
I think it was, yeah,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. But yeah, not many people, not many Kenshin fans at the time were happy with that particular OVA. Uh, so I guess what the hope is for this version of the show is that like with the manga already completed, that they'll properly adapt the entire series.
Yeah, I guess we can only hope that's the case. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say though about these two episodes. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
It's I mean so far it's still it's still going by the way the original show went originally. So it's but yeah, it's just like it feels like I'm just watching like a rerun of the of the original show itself. I mean, despite with the major touch ups in animation and here and there,
Hmm.
but yeah, overall, I mean, I still think it's a good show for people who are newcomers. I mean, I think it is also made for people who've already watched the original series too. But yeah, it's just like I mean, it doesn't feel the same way when you're having to rewatch like most of the same things over and over again.
Yeah, that's true. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess at a certain point, I mean that was kind of the complaint about like Brotherhood when that came out, was that they kind of were sort of retreading the same ground as the original series, but they eventually, of course, get to the new stuff. So maybe it'll be something, a similar case here.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.